Welcome back to the channel, everybody, and today we have a different kind of Fortnite video for you. So, if you were sleeping underneath a rock, then you wouldn't know that this season of Fortnite has been pretty controversial between the ranked and public or casual community of players. So, with the launch of this season, Epic Games decided to add weapon modifications to the vehicles. And now, at the launch, this was very overpowered, and there were also not a whole lot of items in the game in order to counter the vehicles either at that time. And having these vehicles as powerful as they were at the start of the season basically made building pretty much obsolete when you have someone with a cow catcher and a supercar that regens health and grenade launchers on it. It kind of really made it pointless to even attempt to build. So naturally, the competitive community who sit there and have been training their mechanics and building were not extremely happy about this. And that should be expected. When something is added to a game that completely makes one of the main mechanics of the game basically pointless to even try to use. Naturally, some people are not going to be very happy about that. So, what happened? Well, Epic Games continually nerfed the cars. That basically means made them not as good as they originally were. So like the boss car is no longer healed. Now they've actually made it so you can see right where that car is on the map. The machine gun turret no longer is as accurate as it once was, and many more items have been added to the game in order to better counter vehicles. And then naturally, when that happens, all the people who did enjoy the overpowered vehicles and all the crazy overpowered items in the game that got upset and started complaining that now the season is ruined and is no longer fun, and so on and so forth. And the entire time all this was going on, there was a big debate over the interwebs about how they need to separate the loot pool between pubs or casual games and ranked and competitive. And now for a very long time, ranked has never actually had the same rules as an actual Fortnite tournament did, which has always been kind of odd. So like there was cars in ranked, but there wasn't cars when you played a tournament, which is just kind of weird. Like it should kind of be the same so people can practice in the setting that they're going to be competing in when they enter a tournament, instead of having a completely different kind of game when they come into it. And then when some casuals did play tournaments, they would be confused because they would be like, "Oh, why isn't there cars here?" Because they played ranked a little bit and there's cars in ranked. But Epic Games did this obviously to try to make the switch from public matches or casual matches more easier for players if they want to try to switch into more competitive or ranked gameplay. And now, after all the controversy this season and all the nerfing of everything and balancing adjustments to the game, Epic Games just finally gave us a temporary ranked update. Now this update has no cars in ranked, and also no NPCs either that you can hire or even buy weapons off of. And they were supposed to also have removed the Nitro Fists as well, but I was still finding them in this game at this point in time anyways. So, now the first thing I am going to say about this change is I do think it is kind of good, and I also do think it's kind of bad at the same time. As you may have noticed, I landed at Classy Courts, but because Oscar is no longer there, who you could duel for his mythic auto shotgun, nobody landed there. And it's a complete ghost town. So that means also there's two mythic weapons, Oscar's auto shotgun and Cerberus's gatekeeper shotgun, which are no longer actually acquirable. And usually if you ever land at Classic Course before, it was usually a pretty popular and fairly hot drop with lots of action. Also, because there's no cars now, all the bosses are always going to be at their respective POIs because they can't be on patrol. Now, I do think this is a really good change. But one thing I did find was that the game just felt extremely quiet. Like, almost too quiet at that. Like, I'm finally actually hearing gunfighting, and there's only like 6 or 5 people left at this point. And everywhere kind of felt deserted and empty, like a ghost town. Because everywhere I went, I could tell that a player had been there previously as things had been looted, but there's just nobody in sight. Now, players not being able to hire NPCs or they're just guaranteed to be able to buy a certain item or weapon off an NPC every game. I do also think this is kind of a good change because it does mean that players are going to have to be more skilled with the weapons that they are able to find, and you can't really rely on the vending machines to always have what you might be hoping to get from them if you do land a spot where one has a chance to spawn. So it does make the game a lot more skill based. And now with the fists not supposed to be in the game anymore, even though they still were for whatever reason. Now I do think this is kind of a good change as they are annoying, but at the same time, what I don't get is why nobody had an issue when we had the Ninja Turtle Mythics or the Kinetic Blade. They both had the same kind of movement ability to these items. So I do really think that they maybe should have just rebalanced the fists more. They kept them in the game as they were awesome mobility to be utilized by players for getting around the map to then be able to actually get into way more engagements and way more fights. At the same time as well, it's a lot harder to third party a fight or make it to a fight to jump in on it in time before it's finished or to even know where it was actually happening because by the time you do, without the mobility in the game, the fight is already over with. But also, it makes it hard for players to just actually be able to run away from the fight as well, which is kind of also a little bit better in my opinion. And now, the bosses always being at their actual POIs, they can never be on patrol, I think is also a good thing because it forces players to actually have to land at that boss location and fight it out with anybody else who has the same idea as them and wants to go for that mythic weapon and that medallion. There's no more getting cheesy, easy medallions and OP weapons by just getting an EMP grenade and knocking the boss out of their car and stealing the car and killing them with it. So that is also a good thing. But now, this season, due to having the cars in it and everything, ranked has also not been very popular, and now even with these changes, it still doesn't seem very popular at all. Like, I was barely playing it myself, so I was only at Gold 3 at this point because I'd barely played any ranked this season. And if you look at the screen here that's going to pop up, everybody that I ended up fighting was silver. Like, why am I getting put against silver players when I'm in Gold 3? Because there's not enough people actually playing to pit me up against players more closer to my own rank, and that is never a good thing. But let me know what you think in the comments down below of Fortnite's new changes to the rank system. I'm Big Papa Smurf 187. Thank you so much for tuning in. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't, and have fun gaming, and I'll catch y'all on the next one. Peace.